We believe in our future strategy going forward as we execute through this transformation of the auto industry in our company.
Mercedes is famous for its incredible engineering, but their latest project might surprise you. Think you know where the car world is headed? Well, while everyone is racing to build electric vehicles, Mercedes has a surprise, a game changer that could turn the EV world upside down. This plan of Mercedes has even surprised Elon Musk. If the claim made by Mercedes comes true, it could shake up the entire EV market. Curious to know what Mercedes is building and what new things are expected from it? Let's dive in and find out. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.
Mercedes has always been about the perfect blend between innovation and technology on the one hand, but this timeless elegance on the other hand, the aspect of the desirability of Mercedes. We have really smart engineers that get this down to the lowest drag that you can possibly think of, but at the same time, it's absolutely beautiful.
The boss of Mercedes just dropped a bombshell that's got the car world buzzing. He says they've built a brand new engine so incredible it could totally crush the electric vehicle EV hype. While every other car maker is ditching gas engines and jumping on the battery-powered bandwagon, Mercedes is zigging when everyone else is zagging. They're betting big on something that could change how we drive forever. For years, we've been told electric cars are the future. Gas engines are old news, and soon they'll be gone for good. But what if that's wrong? What if Mercedes has been secretly working on an engine so amazing, so efficient, that it makes going all electric seem unnecessary? This isn't just about loving the sound of a roaring engine. It's about pushing engineering to the max and proving combustion engines still have some serious fight left in them. Before we spill the beans on what makes this engine so special, let's rewind a bit. To get why this is such a big deal, we need to look at Mercedes's incredible history. Mercedes-Benz isn't just a name, it's a legend in the car world, all about top-notch engineering, speed, and luxury. It all started way back in the late 1800s with two genius engineers, Carl Benz and Gottlieb Daimler, who kicked off what would become one of the biggest names in cars. From building the very first automobile to ruling racetracks and luxury roads, Mercedes has always been about breaking new ground. The company officially became Mercedes-Benz in 1926, but its story goes even further back. Picture this. In 1886, Carl Benz invented the world's first gas-powered car, the Benz Patent Motorwagen. It was a lightweight little machine with a simple engine and basic steering. Nothing fancy, but it changed everything. While Carl Benz was busy building his first car, Gottlieb Daimler and his buddy Wilhelm Maybach were cooking up something big too. They created a speedy gas engine and slapped it into a carriage, making their own motorized ride. At first, Benz and Daimler were doing their own thing, but fate had other plans. In 1926, their companies teamed up to create Mercedes-Benz. The name Mercedes came from Daimler's famous car line, which was named after the daughter of his business partner, Emil Jelinek. Cool, right? From there, Mercedes-Benz took off, always dreaming big and pushing the limits of what cars could be. But it's not just about fancy road cars. Mercedes has a wild history in racing, too. They've used the racetrack to test out crazy new ideas. Way back in the early 1900s, Daimler's cars were already winning big races like the Gordon Bennett Cup. By the 1930s, Mercedes-Benz was ruling Grand Prix racing with their super cool silver arrows. These sleek, shiny cars got their nickname from their awesome design. One of their stars, the Mercedes-Benz W125, rolled out in 1937 with a supercharged engine pumping out 646 horsepower. Insane power for that time. The Silver Arrows smashed records and won tons of races, showing off German engineering at its finest. Things took a dark turn in 1955, though. A Mercedes 300 SLR crashed during the Le Mans race, killing over 80 people in the crowd. It was a tragedy, and Mercedes stepped away from racing for a long time. But they came roaring back later, stronger than ever. Today, their Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team is a total powerhouse. With stars like Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, they crushed it, winning 8 straight championships from 2014 to 2021. Mercedes' F1 success isn't just for show. It's a testing ground for amazing tech like hybrid engines, slick aerodynamics, and cutting-edge materials. A lot of that genius ends up in the cars you see on the road. Mercedes-Benz has always been the king of luxury, raising the bar for comfort, safety, and power in cars. Take the S-Class. It first hit the scene in 1972 as the W116 and totally changed the game for fancy rides. It became the car to beat, rolling out mind-blowing features like anti-lock brakes, ABS, airbags, and later stuff like adaptive cruise control and even semi-self-driving tech. If you wanted the best, the S-Class was it. Then there's AMG, the performance crew that kicked off in the 1960s. They started as a small team tweaking Mercedes cars for racing, but eventually joined the family. They gave us beasts like the Hammer, a souped-up E-Class from the 80s, and today's Mercedes-AMG GT. These cars prove Mercedes can mix plush luxury with heart-pumping speed. Safety? Mercedes has been a trailblazer there too. Back in the 1950s, they came up with crumple zones, smart designs that soak up crash energy to keep passengers safer. Fast forward to the 2000s, and their pre-safe system blew minds again. It can sense a crash coming and get ready by tightening seat belts or adjusting seats to lessen the impact. Genius! Mercedes didn't stop there. They've pioneered tons of tech we take for granted today. They brought diesel cars to the masses with the 260D in 1936, the first of its kind. Lately, they've jumped into electric and hybrid tech big time. Sure, they were slow to go all in on EVs at first, but now they're pouring money into batteries and greener fuels. Their EQ lineup, like the electric EQS, shows they're serious about a cleaner future. But here's the twist. Mercedes isn't ditching gas engines just yet. They're cooking up synthetic fuels and hydrogen tech, keeping combustion alive while pushing forward. Plus, they're leading the charge in self-driving cars. The S-Class and EQS pack some of the slickest driver assist systems out there, inching us closer to cars that drive themselves. From luxury to safety to eco-friendly vibes, Mercedes keeps pushing the limits. Every new Mercedes car gets smarter, more connected, and packed with cool tech, keeping them ahead of the game. Mercedes-Benz is all about pushing engineering to the max, and their engines are a huge part of that story. From day one, they've been setting the bar high. It all kicked off with Carl Benz back in 1879, when he built his first gas engine, a simple one-cylinder, two-stroke machine. A few years later, in 1885, he made history with the Benz patent motor wagon, the world's first self-driving car. Well, sort of. Around the same time, Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach were busy too, turning a horse carriage into a motorized ride with their own gas engine. By 1886, these breakthroughs didn't just launch Mercedes-Benz. They sparked the whole idea of the gas-powered engines we know today. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and Mercedes was perfecting inline-6 and inline-8 engines, smooth, powerful, and iconic. But the real magic happened in the 60s with the M105 V8. This beast debuted in the Mercedes-Benz 600 Pullman. a 6.3-liter monster that turned luxury sedans into something special. It had tons of power, ran super quiet, and was a hit with celebs and world leaders. As tech got better, Mercedes kept raising the bar. Take the M156, the first engine fully designed by AMG. This 6.2-liter V8, built from 2006 to 2015, was a total game-changer. Raw power, insane acceleration, and that epic AMG growl. Want even more? The M275 V12 stepped up, a twin-turbo 6.0-liter beast with crazy torque that made Mercedes sedans and coupes feel like rockets on the Autobahn. Not every legendary Mercedes engine was about speed, though. In the 70s, the M617 diesel showed power isn't everything. It was tough, reliable, and proved Mercedes could do it all. Sometimes, it's not just about speed, it's about toughness. Take the 3.0-liter 5-cylinder diesel from Mercedes. This engine was a total champ, famous for lasting over 500,000 miles if you took care of it. It powered taxis all over the world, earning a rep as one of the toughest engines ever made. But as the world started caring more about fuel efficiency and cleaner air, Mercedes knew they had to switch things up. Big, old-school engines were on their way out, and turbocharging became the hot new thing. By shoving extra air into the engine, turbos gave you more power without guzzling as much gas. Mercedes jumped on board, tweaking the tech to make their engines smoother and punchier without losing what made them awesome. Then came BlueTech, a slick system from the mid-2000s that cleaned up diesel engines. It cut down nasty emissions while keeping the fuel-saving perks and torque that diesel fans love. But Mercedes wasn't done. They realized efficiency wasn't just about tweaking gas engines. It was about rethinking everything. That's where hybrids came in. By mixing regular engines with electric motors, they built cars that sipped less fuel, pumped out fewer emissions, and still drove like a dream. It's classic Mercedes, always pushing what's possible. From Carl Benz's early inventions to AMG's monster engines and now this eco-friendly vibe, Mercedes never stops innovating. But their biggest move yet? It's not just about perfecting old-school engines. It's about creating something so wild their CEO says it could shake up the whole electric vehicle, EV world. We'll dive into that soon, but first, let's talk about where this all started. Believe it or not, Mercedes has been playing with hybrids for over 100 years. Way back in 1906, they rolled out the Mixte, a hybrid that paired a gas engine with a dynamo to make electric power. Jump ahead to the late 90s and early 2000s, and Mercedes-Benz was back at it with hybrid tech. They started tinkering with ways to mix gas engines and electric motors, boosting fuel efficiency and cutting emissions. These experiments weren't just for fun, they set the stage for a big shakeup in the car world. That's when Mercedes rolled out the EQ Power lineup, their fancy way of saying plug-in hybrids. These cars gave you the best of both worlds, electric power for quick trips and a gas engine for the long haul. The EQ Power models, like a bridge between old-school cars and full-on electric ones, proved Mercedes was serious about going green. Then, in 2018, they kicked things up a notch with the EQ brand, diving headfirst into all-electric luxury. The EQC was the first to roll out, a sleek, sustainable ride that screamed Mercedes style. Soon after, models like the EQS and EQA joined the party, locking in their spot in the electric vehicle EV game. But here's the thing. Mercedes didn't go all in on EVs right away. They were cautious, worried about battery tech, charging stations, and whether the world was really ready. Instead of flipping the switch overnight, they kept perfecting their hybrids. thinking a slow and steady approach would keep their customers happy and their reputation rock solid. Not everyone loved that plan. Some folks cheered Mercedes for sticking to quality and giving options during this big tech shift. Others thought they were moving too slow, letting rivals like Tesla and BMW zoom ahead in the EV race. Who's right? Well, we'll figure that out as we dig into their EV story. Mercedes has been a car-making legend for over 100 years, and their electric journey is no different. In 2016, they made a big move by launching Mercedes-Benz Energy, a special team focused on battery storage. It wasn't just about cars, it was a sign they were thinking bigger. Mercedes wasn't just jumping on the electric vehicle, EV bandwagon, they were thinking bigger. Energy management and greener driving for everyone. In 2016, at the Paris Motor Show, they unveiled the Generation EQ concept car, kicking off their all-electric EQ sub-brand with a bang. Their plan? Bold. By 2022, they'd have at least 10 electric models, and by 2030, most of their cars would have some electric oomph, either hybrid or full-on EV. In 2018, they dropped their first real-deal EQ model, the EQC, a luxury SUV built to take on Tesla's Model X. With an 80 kilowatt-hour battery, a 259-mile range, and 402 horsepower from dual electric motors, it was a smooth, comfy ride with that classic Mercedes quality. But it had some hiccups. Its range wasn't as long as Tesla's, and charging took longer, so it didn't quite steal the spotlight. No worries, though. Mercedes kept the electric party going. The EQA brought compact SUV vibes, while the EQS became their electric luxury king, packed with next-level tech and a super sleek design that slips through the air like a champ. It's one of the slipperiest cars ever made. Then came the EQE, an electric twist on the E-Class, and the EQG, a juiced-up version of the legendary G-Class. But the EV race was heating up. Tesla had a head start with killer battery tech, slick software updates, and a huge charging network. Mercedes had to hustle to keep up. Plus, Chinese car makers were crashing the party, dominating with affordable high-tech EVs. In 2023, Mercedes sold off its last 10% of Denza, a Chinese EV company they'd teamed up with after struggling to crack China's market. Local stars like NIO, XPeng, and BYD were winning big there, putting pressure on Western brands like Mercedes. So, where does this leave them? Their EV journey's been wild, and it's all leading up to something huge, their CEO's teasing. Mercedes didn't let setbacks slow them down. They doubled down on their EV game. Instead of trying to outdo Tesla on price or flashy software, they leaned into what they do best: luxury, top-notch craftsmanship, and engineering magic. While Tesla aimed to get everyone driving electric, Mercedes focused on building premium EVs packed with comfy vibes, fancy materials, and super smart driver assist tech. Still, some folks say they've been too slow to go all in on electric, especially next to Tesla's lightning-fast moves. Critics think Mercedes hesitated because their die-hard fans, big lovers of classic gas engines, might not jump to EVs so fast. Plus, German car makers like Mercedes have had a tough time matching Tesla's battery power and charging setup. Tesla's supercharger network is still the champ, making their cars way easier to use on the road. Mercedes has teamed up with Ionity and others for charging, but it's not quite the smooth ride Tesla offers. So, are they falling behind? Maybe. Or maybe there's a twist coming. That brings us to their latest engine reveal, the M139. This thing's a beast, and it might just hint at where Mercedes is headed. The M139 is all about smart design. It's got an aluminum alloy block and head, light but tough, so it weighs just 353 pounds, striking a sweet spot between power and efficiency. Here's the cool part. They flipped the engine 180 degrees from the usual setup. The intake's up front, and the turbo and exhaust hang out in the back near the firewall. Why? Shorter air paths mean quicker throttle response and better efficiency. Plus, it helps the car slice through the air more smoothly. The M139 rocks a twin-scroll turbocharger that's cooled by oil and water, cutting down on lag and keeping the power flowing strong. They even threw in roller bearings to reduce friction, so the turbo spins up fast and burns fuel like a pro. The M139 engine is a total powerhouse, with some seriously cool tricks up its sleeve. It uses a two-stage fuel injection system. Think of it like a super smart fuel sprayer. It blasts fuel in at high pressure, up to 200 bar, and then adds a gentler spray at 6.7 bar to mix it just right, making the engine run smooth and strong no matter how fast it's going. When it hit the scene, the M139 was crowned the world's most powerful four-cylinder engine in its top form, pumping out 310 kilowatts, that's about 416 horsepower, at 6,750 RPM, and a beefy 500 Newton-meters of torque between 5,000 and 5,250 RPM. That boils down to an insane 208 horsepower per liter. Numbers you'd expect from a supercar, not a four-cylinder. Cars with this engine can zoom off the line and handle like a dream. How'd they pull it off? With some next-level tech, like an electrically assisted turbocharger. This little genius cuts turbo lag, so when you hit the gas, the power kicks in right away. Plus, its twin-scroll design makes the most of exhaust flow for max efficiency and oomph. The M139's got dual overhead camshafts running 4 valves per cylinder, giving it pinpoint control over airflow and combustion. Bigger exhaust valves help it breathe better, handling all that power without breaking a sweat. And to keep things cool under pressure, it's got an electric water pump that works no matter how fast the engine's spinning, keeping temps steady for top performance and reliability. This engine is a huge win for Mercedes-AMG, showing off their engineering chops. But hold up. What if I told you they've got something even wilder cooking? Their CEO dropped a bombshell saying, "Our new engine will destroy the EV industry. I've decided how it's built, and our tests show it's flawless." All right, let's spill the beans. Word from inside Mercedes-Benz says they're shaking things up big time. They're not just sticking to electric cars. They're going all out with a wild plan. 19 new gas-powered models and 17 battery electric ones by the end of 2027. At the heart of this bold move, a next-gen 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that's getting a high-tech twist. Think plug-in hybrid or mild hybrid vibes. It's built to keep that classic Mercedes V8 roar fans love while cranking up performance and efficiency. We don't have all the juicy details yet, but whispers in the industry hint it might debut in something like the S63. This isn't just Mercedes clinging to the good old days, though. It's a smart play. They've noticed that, even with all the hype around electric vehicles, EVs, people aren't jumping on board as fast as everyone thought. EVs can be pricey, charging spots are still spotty, and range anxiety? Still a thing. So, Mercedes is souping up combustion engines to give folks a killer option. Big power, better fuel economy, and maybe even a hybrid boost. This could totally shake up the EV world. To make it happen, Mercedes is slashing costs, aiming for a 10% drop by 2027. on top of a 20% cut they already tackled from 2019 to 2025. They're also building more locally to dodge trade headaches and tariffs. Why? Because EVs are struggling to match the performance, reliability, and convenience that gas engines have nailed over decades. Mercedes' new engine might just be the ultimate combo: insane power, better mileage, and hybrid tricks to ditch range worries. Unlike EVs waiting on slow chargers in spotty areas, this engine lets you fuel up fast and still enjoy electric perks. But here's the kicker. What if Mercedes is hiding something even bigger about this engine? Could it be the game changer their CEO's teasing? Some insiders say they've cracked the code on super-efficient combustion tech that could make their engines sip fuel like never before, turning hybrids into an even smarter pick than full-on electric vehicles, EVs. Others whisper they've built a mind-blowing energy recovery system that's just as good as the regenerative braking in EVs, shrinking the gap between gas and electric even more. If this is real, it could throw the EV takeover back by years. Big EV players like Tesla and Rivian are already sweating. Sales are slowing, and profits are shaky. If Mercedes pulls this off, other old-school carmakers might jump on the bandwagon, pumping the brakes on going all-electric and doubling down on combustion instead. And here's the wild part. Mercedes still hasn't shown us everything this engine can do. The suspense is killing us. So, what do you think? Could this flip the car world upside down? Might it even force EV-only brands to rethink their game plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you're thinking. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.